When you block someone, you're not teaching them a lesson. You're showing them that they still have influence over you. You're proving that their presence or even their memory still stirs your emotions enough to make you act. Real power is not in reaction, it's in calm detachment. When you don't block him, you communicate something much deeper, that you have mastered the one thing he cannot control, your attention. You see, attention is the modern currency of connection. When someone loses your attention, they lose access to your world. And when you simply stop engaging, stop responding, stop feeding the energy that once bound you, that's when the silence starts to echo in their mind. Blocking provides closure, silence breeds reflection, and reflection is far more painful than rejection. Every man wants to believe he had an effect on you, that he mattered enough to still disturb your peace. But when you walk away without hostility, when you remain composed and inaccessible, he faces a truth that stings far deeper than being blocked. He has become irrelevant, not hated, not punished, just forgotten. The human ego thrives on opposition. It feeds on resistance. When you block him, you confirm the war still exists. You tell him he still has emotional gravity in your universe. But when you stop participating, when you choose silence, distance, and emotional neutrality, he is left fighting an invisible opponent, his own mind. That's the wound that lingers. That's the pain that multiplies tenfold. Ebro's strength isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself through confrontation or digital walls. It's quiet, patient, and immovable. The person who can walk away without needing validation has already won. Because blocking is an act of defense, but staying silent is an act of dominance. Understand this. People remember absence far longer than they remember anger. Anger burns fast. Absence lingers. Your distance creates space, and that space forces him to confront himself. In that silence, he starts to wonder why you didn't react, why you didn't lash out, why you didn't crumble. That confusion eats at him. It dismantles the illusion of control he once had. There's a strange paradox in relationships. The one who chases loses value, and the one who withdraws gains power. When you refuse to block, to chase, or to explain, you display emotional maturity. You're not seeking revenge, you're mastering response. That's not weakness, that's evolution. And that evolution hurts him in ways words never could. You must understand, emotional control is not about appearing cold. It's about refusing to let another person dictate your emotional weather. When you can stand in your peace while they spiral in their confusion, you've already shifted the dynamic. That's what it means to rise above attachment and step into strength. Let them see that your world continues, unshaken, uninterrupted, untouched. Don't announce your healing. Don't post your peace. Let them feel it in your silence. Because when you stop reacting, you remove their power source. Their ego starves in that quiet. Their curiosity grows in that distance. And eventually they'll realize the truth. You didn't block them because you no longer needed to. Ibrahim never block him. Not out of mercy, but out of mastery. Not because you want him to suffer, but because you no longer care if he does. That's the point where you transcend the emotional battlefield entirely. That's where real self-respect begins, when you no longer use reaction to prove your worth. So stay silent, stay grounded, stay above. Who blocks acts out of pain. The one who stays calm acts out of power. And when he finally realizes that you've moved beyond the need to prove anything, that's when it hits him 10 times harder than any war you could ever build. We live in a world that glorifies reaction, where everyone is racing to respond, to prove a point, to show they can't be disrespected. But the truth is this: the moment you react, you give away your power. The person who can't control their emotions is owned by whoever can provoke them. Restraint isn't weakness. It's the highest form of discipline. It's the quiet declaration that nothing outside of you determines the state within you. When you choose restraint, you step into a level of power that most people will never reach. Because restraint means you've mastered yourself. You've learned that not every situation deserves your energy, not every comment deserves your response, and not every person deserves access to your peace. Reaction is easy. It's instinctive, impulsive, emotional. Restraint is strength. It's intentional, patient, and rooted in self-respect. A brew. People often think silence means you're losing, but silence, when grounded, control, is the language of power. The one who stays composed while everyone else loses themselves is the one who leads, because control over your emotions gives you control over your environment. The world bends to the person who refuses to be swayed by it. The louder someone tries to provoke you, the more your calm unnerves them. Your restraint exposes their chaos. Understand this deeply. Reaction feeds their ego. Restraint starves it. The more you try to prove yourself, the more you reveal your insecurity. The less you react, the more they question their own influence. That's how restraint wins, not by force, but by unsettling the other person's illusion of control. Hebrew restraint is not suppression. D, to be seen, to be known. When you stay calm under pressure, people feel your power even when you say nothing. That's because power isn't an act, it's an energy. And that energy is only accessible to those who have conquered their impulses. Think about it. Anyone can explode, argue, post, block, or storm off. That takes no strength. But to stay calm in the storm, to smile when provoked, to walk away when your ego demands revenge, that's power in its purest form. Because it takes strength to do nothing when everything inside you wants to react. Restraint also protects your dignity. Every time you react in anger, you give others a piece of your stability. But when you choose restraint, you reclaim your authority. You send a silent message. I will not be moved by what doesn't deserve me. That message shakes people more than any reaction ever could, because they realize they can no longer control you through chaos. The beauty of restraint is that it shifts the power dynamic. When you stop reacting, others start reflecting. They begin to see their own behavior without your response clouding it. Your silence becomes their mirror, and what they see often hurts far more than your words ever could. In relationships, in arguments, in life, the one who remains composed always holds the leverage. Not because they're emotionless, but because they know emotions are to be managed, not unleashed. Restraint shows maturity. It shows you've outgrown the need to win battles that no longer matter. Remember this, power isn't in domination, it's in control. The person who can't be provoked cannot be defeated. You don't need to prove your worth through reaction. Your restraint already proves you're above the chaos. So the next time someone tries to pull you into drama, remember, your reaction is their reward. Don't give it. Let them feel the emptiness of their provocation. Let them realize that their noise can't reach your peace, because that's when true respect begins. Not when you speak louder, but when your silence speaks deeper in every human interaction, whether it's love, conflict, business, or silence. Emotional control defines who holds power. When you lose your composure, you lose clarity. When you stay composed, you become the anchor in the storm. The one who can remain calm while others are driven by emotion automatically commands respect, because composure is not just calmness, it's command. Command over yourself, over the situation, and over how others respond to you. The truth is, people don't follow the loudest person in the room. They follow the one who doesn't flinch. They trust the one who stays still when everyone else is shaking. Composure is a signal. It says, I'm not controlled by circumstances. I control how I respond to them. And that energy shifts everything. It makes others adjust to your pace, your tone, your standard. When you react emotionally, you give away your position. You let others set the rhythm, dictate the tone, and define your worth. But when you remain calm, when you refuse to engage in emotional chaos, you become unpredictable. And that unpredictability is powerful, because no one can manipulate someone they can't emotionally move. Composure is the armor of the disciplined. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've learned how to channel everything. You may feel anger, disappointment, or hurt, but you don't let those emotions drive your actions. Instead, you observe, you think, and you respond with intention. That's what separates strength from weakness, reaction from control. People often confuse loudness with dominance, but dominance is quiet. It's steady, it's composed. The person who can hold eye contact without needing to shout, who can listen without rushing to defend, who can walk away without needing to explain. That's the person who controls the dynamic. Because composure communicates something words never could. I'm not competing for power. I am the power. In relationships, this truth becomes even clearer. When tension rises, the one who loses control loses influence. The one who remains calm holds it. Composure disarms conflict. It makes the other person's emotional intensity look smaller, less grounded. When someone yells and you don't, their voice begins to lose credibility. When they try to provoke and you stay centered, they start to question themselves. Your calm exposes their chaos. That's why composure is so rare, because it demands strength in the unseen moments. It's easy to stay calm when life cooperates. It's mastery to stay calm when life tests you. When someone disrespects you, when someone leaves you on read, when someone tries to manipulate your emotions, that's when true composure shows its power. Because instead of chasing, arguing, or proving, you choose stillness. And stillness in the face of disrespect is the loudest message you can send. Abra composure also gives you clarity. When emotions settle, truth surfaces. Anger clouds your vision, calm sharpens it. The person who can breathe through chaos always sees the situation more accurately than the one reacting to it. That's why leaders, thinkers, and emotionally disciplined individuals move slower, not out of hesitation, but out of control. They know that response is strength, reaction is weakness. Brewery, and here's what most people miss. Composure shifts energy. When you stay grounded, people start to mirror you. Your calmness slows down their storm. You draw others into your emotional gravity. That's how you lead without forcing, influence without speaking, and win without fighting. But composure isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering their expression. You don't need to be robotic or indifferent. You just need to choose when and how to express emotion so that it serves your peace, not your pain. Because losing control never wins respect. It wins sympathy, maybe fear, but never respect. And respect is the foundation of power. Brusque, you'll notice something profound. People test you not to see your anger, but to measure your control. The moment they realize they can't shake you, they start treating you differently. They become cautious with their words, measured in their tone, aware of your presence. That's the power of composure. It silently commands discipline from others. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their emotional storm, stay grounded. Don't match their chaos. Make them match your calm. Because composure doesn't just protect your peace, it dictates the terms of engagement. It tells the world, I decide how far this goes, how deep this cuts, and when it ends. In a world addicted to reaction, composure is rebellion. It's strength disguised as serenity. The composed one always wins. Not because they overpower others, but because they outlast them. Emotion burns fast, composure endures. Anyone can retaliate. Anyone can shout, post, block, or throw words out of pain. That's easy. What's hard, what's rare, is emotional discipline. The ability to stay composed when provoked, to respond with silence instead of reaction, to hold your power when everything inside you wants to release it. That's true strength. Retaliation might satisfy the ego for a moment, but discipline builds the kind of respect that lasts forever. When you retaliate, you're still connected to the other person through emotion. You're saying, you still have power over how I feel. But when you show discipline, when you stop explaining, stop defending, stop seeking to prove, you reclaim that power entirely. Because emotional discipline sends a message retaliation never can. I am not controlled by you anymore. That message hits harder than any comeback. Retaliation gives them closure. Discipline leaves them wondering. Retaliation proves you're still affected. Discipline proves you've evolved. And that difference is what separates temporary satisfaction from long-term power. The truth is, emotional discipline doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you've learned not to let feelings become your master. You've trained yourself to pause before reacting, to breathe before speaking, to think before deciding. That pause, that tiny gap between emotion and expression, is where all your strength lives. It's in that space that you choose maturity over impulse, control over chaos, power over weakness. Understand this. Emotions are energy, and where you direct that energy determines your outcomes. Retaliation wastes it. Discipline refines it. When you react, you give your energy to someone else. When you remain disciplined, you channel it into yourself, into growth, silence, peace, and purpose. The one who can hold emotion without being consumed by it is untouchable. The person who practices emotional discipline becomes dangerous in the best way, because they can no longer be manipulated. They can't be baited into drama, guilted into submission, or controlled by someone else's behavior. They've learned restraint is not weakness. It's power under perfect control. Think about it. When someone tries to provoke you, they're not looking for truth. They're looking for reaction. They want to feel that they can still move you. But when you don't react, when you look at them with calm indifference, they are confronted with something terrifying, their inability to control you. That's the real punishment. That's what burns longer than any angry word. Emotional discipline creates distance, and in that distance, reflection begins. Your silence becomes louder than any argument. The person who wronged you starts to feel the weight of their actions, not because you punished them, but because your restraint forced them to face themselves. Retaliation removes their guilt. Discipline amplifies it. There's also a deeper level of power that comes with discipline, self-respect. Every time you choose not to react, you reinforce your own worth. You prove to yourself that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. That confidence radiates. People feel it. They sense that you cannot be swayed by temporary emotions or external chaos. That's what draws respect, attraction, and authority. Retaliation makes noise. Discipline creates presence. When you walk away instead of fighting, when you smile instead of snapping, when you let silence speak instead of anger, people remember that. They might not say it out loud, but they feel it. Because emotional discipline is magnetic. It demands attention without asking for it. And let's be clear, emotional discipline isn't about pretending to be unbothered. It's about mastering your internal world so deeply that external chaos loses its power. It's about saying, I can feel deeply and still stay centered. It's about strength in softness, peace in pressure, and control in conflict, in love, in leadership, in life. Emotional discipline always wins because retaliation drains your energy, but discipline multiplies it. Retaliation ends a moment. Discipline builds a legacy. People forget what you said in anger, but they never forget how calmly you handled the storm. The strongest people are not those who fight every battle. They're the ones who choose which battles are worth fighting. They understand that not every insult deserves a reply, not every loss deserves mourning, and not every betrayal deserves revenge. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. So, when someone tries to trigger you, pause. Don't let their behavior decide your response. Let your silence, your self-control, your calm energy deliver the message. You no longer have access to my emotions. That's not coldness, that's mastery. Because emotional retaliation might feel like victory, but emotional discipline is victory. It's the quiet proof that you've risen above the need to win arguments. You've chosen to win yourself. Anyone can walk away when they're furious. Anyone can slam the door, block, delete, and declare they redone. But that's not strength. That's emotion wearing armor. Real strength is quieter. It's in the calm departure, in the decision to let go without the need to destroy what was. Because walking away with peace, not resentment, is what truly separates power from pain. Anger feels powerful in the moment. It gives the illusion of control. But the truth is, when you act in anger, you're still attached. You're still reacting to what hurt you. You're still letting someone else dictate your emotions. True strength is walking away, not because you're bitter, but because you've outgrown the battle. It's choosing distance, not out of pride, but out of clarity. You see, the strongest people don't burn bridges, they simply stop crossing them. They don't curse what once mattered, they bless it and move on. Because they understand something most never will. Closure doesn't come from chaos, it comes from composure. When you can leave without rage, without revenge, without the need to prove anything, you've already won the deeper fight, the one within yourself. Walking away without anger doesn't mean you're weak. It means you value peace over power games. It means you've learned that your energy is sacred, too sacred to waste on proving your point to someone committed to misunderstanding you. When you walk away calmly, you communicate something far louder than shouting ever could. I am no longer available for what disturbs my peace. Anger chains you to the past. Discipline frees you from it. When you leave in anger, part of you stays behind, still fighting, still explaining, still needing to be heard. But when you walk away in peace, you reclaim yourself completely. That's what makes it so powerful. You no longer need them to understand your worth. You already do. There's a kind of silence that carries more strength than any confrontation. It's the silence that says, I'm done giving energy to what doesn't grow me. It's not cold, it's clear, it's not avoidance, it's mastery. You're not closing the door in rage. You're leaving it open with grace, knowing you won't be walking back through it. That balance between detachment and dignity is the mark of emotional maturity. Anger seeks to punish, strength seeks to preserve, and the one who walks away with calmness preserves their peace, their dignity, and their self-respect. That's what makes others feel the weight of your absence, not because you vanished in fury, but because you left with control. They expected reaction, you gave them reflection. That's what lingers. When you close the door in anger, you leave a wound behind, both in yourself and in the connection. But when you walk away with composure, you leave a message. I've learned my lesson, not my bitterness. And that message echoes. People feel it long after you're gone. They replay how you didn't argue, how you didn't attack, how you didn't retaliate. And that's when they realize the depth of your strength. Brooke, who walk away without Ange. R is to understand that peace isn't given. It's protected. It's knowing that no closure, no apology, no validation can give you what self-control already has. Because when you master your exit, you master yourself. And that's where real power begins. In the choice to leave without destroying, to end without hating, to release without resentment. There's a quiet confidence that lives in those who can walk away gently. They don't need to make a scene, don't need to prove who's right or wrong. Their silence says everything. I am done participating in my own disturbance. And the absence of anger gives that silence authority. Understand this. The door you leave open in peace is never about letting someone back in. It's about keeping your own heart clean. It's about saying, I will not poison my future with the bitterness of my past. You can forgive and still move on. You can care and still create distance. That's not contradiction. That's balance. And yes, it's tempting to close the door in anger. It feels satisfying in the moment. It gives a sense of finality, but it's a false victory. Because anger is temporary, peace is permanent. The person who can leave with grace carries that peace into every part of their life. They don't carry the weight of resentment. and that lightness becomes their new power. So when you're tested, when someone pushes you to the edge, when you feel disrespected, unseen, or betrayed, don't react. Don't burn the bridge just to feel taller. Walk away quietly, firmly, peacefully. That's what true power looks like. Because the world expects you to explode, it doesn't expect you to rise. Strong end line, the real victory isn't in slamming the door, it's in walking away so calmly that they hear your peace louder than your anger.